Hello, and welcome to the Folklore and Fiction podcast. My name is Kelly MacCath-Moran. I'm a PhD candidate in the Folklore department at Memorial University of Newfoundland, and I'm also a speculative fiction writer under the pseudonym C.S. MacCath. The Folklore and Fiction podcast and dispatch synthesize these passions with a focus on folklore scholarship aimed at storytellers. You'll find the Folklore and Fiction archive, along with the rest of my work, online at folkloreandfiction.com. Interested listeners will find a link to the current dispatch in the show notes, where a more comprehensive record of this episode can be found, including a bibliography and other references. In this episode, I'll be introducing you to 3 indexes of recurring motifs and plots found in folktales. I'll also be providing you with a writing exercise extracted from Julia Cameron's excellent motivational book on the creative life, The Artist's Way. This podcast is a brand new companion to the Folklore and Fiction written dispatch. It's also the first in a 2-year exploration of folkloric motifs and plots from around the world, paired with writing exercises designed to help you make use of them as storytellers. You might be wondering why an understanding of folklore indexing systems is important to storytelling, and why I'm spending so much time on the topic. In truth, you don't need a folklorist's understanding of these systems, which you would likely find tedious, though it would help you to understand a bit more about their limitations than I'll be sharing here. What you do need, and what they amply provide, is a working knowledge of traditional story scaffolding. You also need the skills to build upon that scaffolding, and that's why each of the dispatches and podcasts in this series will include a writing exercise. Finally, I would add that while the first 2 of these indexes can be found online, the most recent of them, and the one I'll be referencing most often for various folkloristic reasons, is difficult to find in a library and expensive to buy, which is another reason I'll be sharing excerpts of it with you. My goal in this new Folklore and Fiction series is to explain what these indexes are, provide you with a representative sample of the motifs and plots found in them, and encourage you to adopt and adapt traditional narrative elements into your storytelling. At the end of the series, I hope you'll be able to pick up one of these indexes, thumb through it until something sparks your imagination, find a few traditional tales that contain the motif or plot you've just discovered, and create something new with that sparkly bit of narrative. Let's get started. You'll encounter the terms motif and tale type quite a bit in this series, so I want to begin by telling you what they mean from a folkloristic perspective. A motif is a small chunk of story that recurs in folk narrative with enough regularity that it can be seen as a recognizable pattern. Motifs have staying power in storytelling traditions because there's something about them that tellers and their audiences find satisfying enough to pass down and seek out again and again. Motifs are unique in some way as well. Not just a hat, but a magic cap. Not just a carpet, but a flying carpet. Not just an animal, but a talking animal. Not just a mother, but a wicked stepmother. Sometimes motif categorizations overlap with tale type categorizations, and you'll see that for yourself next month when we look at an animal tale in which the motif and the tale type have the same label. But motifs are like chocolate chips. You might put them in cookies, in fudge, or directly in your mouth by the handful at 2 a.m. Similarly, the same motif might be found in an animal tale, a tale of magic, a religious tale, and so on. Sometimes there are many motifs in a single tale as well. The tale type is a concept invented by folklore scholars to categorize folk narrative story plots. There are broad categories in tale type indexes like animal tales, tales of magic, and religious tales. This episode of the Folklore and Fiction podcast is a preview, and you can listen to the full episode on the Folklore and Fiction website. Just click on the dispatch link in the show notes or go to folkloreandfiction.com and sign up for a free account. Thanks very much for your interest. Copyright 2019 to 2023. Kelly S. MacCath-Moran. All rights reserved unless Creative Commons licensing is specifically applied.